2020 was an interesting year for gaming. In March of that year, everyone was told they were getting 2 weeks off from school only to be isolated in their rooms for months. So to cope with this, everyone just started playing games more and didn't go outside. And with a shift in the player base, the gaming landscape shifted as well. We started seeing new trends both from the players themselves, but also what games were being released. With most people having more time to play games, everyone decided to make some investments into the hardware they used to play said games. 2020 is when PC gaming became a lot more mainstream, with the PS5 not being released until November of that year and the PS4 and Xbox One being near the end of their generation. A lot of people decided to finally make the big switch to PC gaming, and because of these circumstances, PC gaming was more mainstream than ever. Instead of joining parties on PlayStation or Xbox, people were learning how to use Discord and adding games to their Steam libraries. It didn't matter what kind of build you had or what your specs were, because a lot of the most popular games at the time did not even need expensive builds and were very accessible. Developers knew that with how much time people were forced to stay inside, those players probably wanted to play more multiplayer-based games over single-player ones, which is why we saw games like Fall Guys and Among Us suddenly take off. These are the two most recognized party games from that year, and it makes sense why they became so popular in the first place. A lot of people were getting tired of competitive multiplayer games like Call of Duty, Battlefield, Counter-Strike, etc. Because while there were still plenty of people playing these games at the time, there were also a lot of people who just wanted to play something different. A lot of people just wanted a more relaxed way to play games with friends without worrying about a KD ratio, and that's exactly what these games offered. Party games have already been around for decades, but these two games specifically made party games as a whole a lot more mainstream than they were before. It's refreshing to play something that has a low skill ceiling while also being more focused on the shared experience rather than competition. We've also seen this more recently with games like Lethal Company and Phasmophobia taking off. It's clear that players enjoy games like these just as much as the more competitive multiplayer experiences, because 2020 showed us that while there will always be an audience for these kind of multiplayer games, there was also a huge audience for games that are more focused on a shared experience with a much lower skill ceiling. I might be repeating myself, but the point is that these games have finally found their place in the industry thanks to these two titles that made the genre more popular, and every other multiplayer game still saw a huge increase in players at this time. Everyone was going through their 2-week Minecraft phase, GTA Online had the entire green versus purple trend, Fortnite was still going strong, and Call of Duty was still bringing in new people with Warzone. But when you look back on the entire year for gaming, you notice a lot of things have changed since 2020. A lot of things became a lot more mainstream than they were before. The obvious ones were the rise in PC gaming and party games, but it also brought new life to a lot of already existing games because now people had more of a reason to play them. I have no idea if we'll ever see a year like 2020 where we see gaming change this much in just a few months, because if gaming did not see all of these changes during this time, the industry as a whole would look very different today. Certain games might not be released at all, some multiplayer games might have lost players a lot sooner, and chances are a lot of creators and streamers would not be nearly as big as they are today without these changes. I think it's important to reflect on what changed for gaming during 2020, because there's a good chance we will not have another year that changed so much about the industry as we saw during those few months where everyone was forced to be online all at once.